Be warned, traveler. The following episode of Blackwell Podcast contains spoilers for Life is Strange.
Hi, welcome to Blackwell Podcast, where we love Life is Strange more than Max and Chloe like digging up treasure. I'm Joey, and with me as always is Jamie.
Hello.
Aaron.
Ahoy.
Sean.
Hey.
Zach.
Yar mateys.
And we have a very special guest with us, none other than Max Caulfield herself, Hannah Telle. Hi, Hannah.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us again.
It's always a pleasure.
Well, it's definitely always a pleasure to do this podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we've been gone for a while. We've been gone since December. It's been about 4 months now, and we're back in a big way with this interview.
Big mood.
Hannah, this big mood, big interview. Hannah, how have you been?
I've been doing really great. How about you guys?
Awesome.
Doing pretty good.
Yeah, busy with
Yeah.
school, but other than that,
Joey
I'm
was
on
just
break now.
down here visiting. He left
just-
like a week ago,
yeah, I
and
think.
it's really sad without him.
Where's down there?
I'm in Louisiana, so Joey came down from where he lives to visit for a week.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I spent my spring break with Zach and Amy.
Very cool.
So, what's new in your life, Hannah?
Well, I'm actually in school too.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
What are you
cool.
studying?
I'm studying music. So I never thought I'd be going back to school at 30, but I don't know. I just decided that I wanted to finish my degree. I went to school at USC for 3 years when I was just out of high school, but I didn't finish, and I always kind of regretted it. So doing it now.
That's exciting.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
It's cool.
I'm loving studying music. I'm gonna hopefully self-produce my next album. Hopefully gonna do everything by myself on it. So I'm learning how to do that kind of stuff, recording and everything.
That's
Excellent.
exciting.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
Are you studying so you said you're studying production and stuff? Are you taking theory classes and all that, or?
Yes, theory classes, guitar, piano, songwriting, everything.
I can't wait for your prog album to drop.
I can't believe I'm trying to do an album by myself, but I feel like why not? It'll be an exciting adventure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna feel real good when it's done.
I think I
Yeah.
can speak for literally everyone in the world. Promote myself to that ability. And we're all excited for your next album. So
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
The whole
all
world.
7.3 billion of us.
Is that what we're up to now? Jeez.
Great.
Last I checked, last time I did a census.
No, we're all super stoked.
Cool, thank you.
So what's your ETA for finishing that?
The album?
Well, your degree.
We're looking at a couple years. Because I'm switching majors. When I was in school originally, I was studying film, and now I'm studying music. So I might end up double majoring. I'm not sure, but I'm probably going to be in school for a while. But I'm excited. I feel like I'm a better student now. So I really love learning. So and I can still act and everything in the summer, and so it's all good.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. It's never too late to go back to school, learn some new stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of acting, that was probably a really weak segue, but I'm taking it.
I guess
So what was your initial reaction when you were asked to play Max again?
I was just really relieved. I didn't know what was going to happen with that. If they were going to ask me or ask someone else. I thought originally that they were going to ask someone else to do it, and so I went through this really emotional time of like telling my agent, no, I can't let anybody. No, I have to be the one to play her. I'll do whatever. I'll do anything. Like, don't, like, just tell them I'll do it no matter what. And because there was a strike going on and everything, and
Right.
my situation with the strike is a little different. I'm in SAG, but I'm still allowed. I'm in a division of SAG that allows you to do non-union work. So it would have been frowned upon for me to do the game, but it would have been allowed to, but it would have been frowned upon by other actors. But I just didn't care. I just like Ashley's situation is a lot different than mine. Like, she would have probably gotten in a lot of trouble, but because I'm in this other division, I was just like, if all I have to worry about is other actors thinking I'm bad, then well, sorry guys, I'm gonna do it. I really don't care. But that was
Respect.
we were going back and forth for a long time. Trying to figure out what was going to happen if they were going to ask me. So when they finally asked me, I was just really thankful because I was really upset. And I'm sure Ashley would have felt like heartbroken. The situation was really intense. So I was very thankful that it worked out the way it did.
Yeah, that was a very precarious situation, I think,
And I feel like it's not something that we all talked about, right? Like I don't remember. I
we
think
kind
we
of
all
tried
just,
to
like,
stay
lived in
away from
denial.
it.
Yeah.
Like, because it's I don't know, it's kind of a
Difficult.
hairy situation, so I think we kind of just tried to stay out of it. As we should.
Definitely
So
on
we're
the podcast, but even in like a personal sense, like I was talking to people, and I think I just like didn't even want to entertain the idea of anybody else being Max. So I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I even would have played Farewell if you hadn't reprised your role as Max. So.
Y'all are very sweet. Thank you.
Well, on a lighter note, are there any funny stories from the recording booth during production of Farewell?
Yes. Whenever Ashley and I got to work together, we were always having fun. So when we were coming up with the pirate voices, that was definitely a really fun, lighthearted moment. And so there's a lot of, tense moments in that episode because Max is trying to tell her that she's leaving, and it's kind of, they got this pervading sense of sadness, but that moment was really fun, and it was just cool for both of us to get to be back together again and working on this project after everything that had happened, and all the several years that had passed, and then all of the drama with the strike. So we were just happy and giggling and having a fun time. Making the video for behind the scenes was really awesome too.
Yeah.
So we had a really good time together.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember I saw the promo when they announced that you and Ashley be coming back for Farewell, and it was like I saw it as soon as I woke up in the morning, and I just like watched it like while I was in bed, and like I was just it looked so happy. Like you were both happy to be there, and I knew that everybody was happy to have you back, and it was a good feel.
Yeah.
Way to start your day.
Honestly,
We were feeling good.
honestly,
The best part of waking up.
Yeah, honestly, whenever that video was released, I honestly teared up because I was just so happy. Yeah, I'll kind of get a little bit more into that later, but oh boy.
So, obviously Chloe and Max made a time capsule in the episode, and we were wondering if you were to make one for yourself to open in 10 years from now, what would you put in it?
Well, let's see. I would make like a mix CD and include a CD, like a portable CD player with headphones in there with all my favorite songs. Yeah, just in case, because who knows. My laptop doesn't even have a CD spot anymore, so I would definitely include the player and just have like a mixture of everything I'm listening to right now that means a lot to me. And I would put like one of my diaries, like finished diaries from this time in there, and maybe some concert tickets, some photos of like what I look like right now, and my room, and my pets, and my friends. And then I think it'd be pretty cool if those photos were like Polaroids. And then I would want to put some memorabilia from the game and everything, because the game has been like the biggest part of my life the past few years. So I would definitely want to kind of relive how big of an impact that has had on my life.
Well, in 10 years when they do the HD remaster of Life is Strange.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
VR version.
I would also like put somehow like a like a external hard drive thingy of like my reel or something, like examples of what I've been working on, like in acting and music, so I could see like hopefully that I've grown. Hopefully. Or like look back and see like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that was what I thought was good or something. Anyway, yeah.
It's a cool idea. I don't know what when I saw this question, when I came up with this question, I was thinking about it for myself too, and I don't know what I would put in mine. Not that it matters, because we're not doing an interview with me.
I was just thinking that too. It's hard to say what you would put in there.
I would probably put music in there as well, I feel.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that. It's a good idea.
Put in some kind of snack, so.
Get hungry digging it up.
A Twinkie. That'd be the most exciting part. You open it and you're like, whoa, chips, cool. I forgot
It's
about
all
these.
stale and gross.
I guess you
Just
want to
soak
put
it in honey, because honey doesn't spoil.
You could put like jerky or something in there, something that won't go bad.
Yeah.
Whoa. I didn't know that about honey.
I didn't either.
I'm learning a lot right now.
I'd probably put like a $5 bill in there, because when you like look in your pocket and you find a $5 that wasn't there before, or you didn't know it was there, it's always a good feeling. So.
Yeah.
I feel like I would
get broke in like a week, and then I'd be like, yes, I have to dig it up now.
college kid, so I definitely like, oh shit, I need some Taco Bell. Like, go dig it up 3 days
Dig up
later.
this time capsule.
Right.
Fuck.
Were there any lines in Farewell that were particularly difficult for you to perform on an emotional level?
Definitely the messages that Max leaves for Chloe at the end. I really wanted those to just be as real as possible, and to really get across how much Max loves Chloe and how sorry she is for everything. And so I wanted to make sure all of that got across as best as I could. So there's a lot of pressure for that, definitely.
That was a hard hitting scene.
I sobbed many times.
I thought it would be a really good idea for, I said, hey, I'm gonna live stream this, because I was like, yeah, it's Max, yeah, and then, like, when I finished the episode, I'm just like an emotional mess. Like, I just leave, like, in tears, and then I just sit, like, in the bathroom for an hour just thinking.
Yeah.
But that tape at the very end it broke me. Yeah. You did such an amazing job of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much.
And it did.
Actually,
it felt very. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's fine. I was just going to say, actually, I watched the other variation of the choice I didn't choose, and it was like equally as hard. So initially I had regret that, I don't know, it was going to suck either way. But, I mean, it really was amazing, and they just keep finding ways to make us cry.
Yeah. Well, a friend I go to university with, he lives like a few minutes away from me, but he started playing at the exact same time as I did, because we were texting each other at like, I don't even know, 5 p.m, and then we were sat down ready to play. And then I got a message just before I finished it, and he was like, it's just him crying, just a video of him crying. Are you okay? And he was like, I'm not okay. And then like 10 minutes later, I finished it, and we were on the phone to each other just crying.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's fine.
It was a very like genuine and sincere. Like it
Yeah, felt.
I don't know. It felt exactly like what you would say to your best friend that you're moving away from, and like, don't worry, we're gonna keep in touch. We're gonna like visit, all that, and like, I'm so sorry I'm having to leave you, especially like given the context of like what just happens with William, and which at the beginning we probably should have said that we will be talking about Farewell, but at the very least with Farewell we know the story already.
Yeah.
But just keep in mind, dear listeners, that we will be talking about Farewell as we always. Anyway, sorry. I derailed my own train of thought. But yeah, it was very like sincere and genuine, and like, which made it hit even harder. And yeah, I was crying, and I just texted Jamie because actually, like, I've been kind of in a bad place, so I've been like putting off playing episode 3 of Before the Storm and Farewell, and so I played Farewell like today when I woke up, and I texted Jamie after we're done. I was like, why would they do this?
Oh, I'm
But,
so sorry to hear that.
It was very like extremely well delivered scene.
Yeah.
Thank
It
you.
was. And the thing about Farewell is it was like in the little things, like obviously we know the emotional magnitude of like everything that happens, and I mean that's part of the way that the story is told, like kind of backwards. So it adds a lot more gravity to, the things that happen. But the things that really got me were like just like the really innocent things, like the happy parts. Those are the parts that like really like got an emotional reaction on me. Like even when they're in the time capsule and they're reading the letters to each other, and just simple like childlike things like, hello future Chloe, how are you? I'm doing well. Like it's just that's like how kids talk, and it's so simple, and I loved it.
I have a little bit of a funny story. It's kind of it's optimistic because I was more or less in a similar situation as Max, where I used to live in England before my mum got a job and she had to move to a different country, which is where I live now. So I had a friend called Daniel, and he was my best friend, and like we were like tell each other everything, like about the show that we watched and everything. He was really good. He was a really good friend. And then I had to move away, but this was before social media was a real thing, so I just kind of lost contact. And about 6 months ago, I messaged him back, and I was like saying, I was just, because I was thinking about Life is Strange, I really cannot just do this. I really need to get in contact with him again. And he actually played Life is Strange, so that was a good in. So I could So we reconnected because of Life is Strange.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I have a kind of like similar story. Like this is a few years ago now, actually. Well, when I was really young, I lived in this town, city place, and I had to move away because my family moved around a lot, and I had my best friend there, and I was so distraught when I had to leave. Like it was horrible. And then we still talked for years after I moved, and like we were still really close. And then like a couple of years after, it kind of just like we both were busy like finishing school and all that kind of stuff, so we just stopped talking, I guess. And then I moved again, and then she was like, "Hey, I see you're moving here," and I was like, She was like, "I live like half an hour away from there," and I was like, "What? That's crazy." And then she was like, "We should definitely do something. We should meet up," and we did, and we just like walked around town and got ice cream. And she really likes video games as well, so it was like really nice to catch up. We still don't talk as much as like we used to, but it was still like really nice to have that.
Yeah.
Good old optimism.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's nice.
Kind of just
Derailed a bit.
yeah, but it's better just to think
In a good way.
Yeah, in a good way.
Yeah.
Instead of just screaming and crying.
Yeah.
So, have you learned? We went through the whole rotation, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cut this part out.
No.
So, have you learned any lessons from being involved with Life is Strange? Now that we had the finale of Max and Chloe for good, and if so, what are they?
Yeah, I definitely learned so many lessons from this game. I think a lot of people who played the game can also relate. Just being more conscious of the little things that I do or say and how they can have such a profound effect on other people. I think like it's tempting to sort of go, well, for me at least, in the past, I would just be so caught up and wrapped up in my own drama, just like dealing with anxiety and depression and using that kind of as an excuse to live my life really wrapped up in myself. Like it's pretty like a selfish way I would live, and I mean I wasn't mean to anyone, but I definitely didn't really take the time to look at things from other people's perspectives before my own. And I think now I really learned a lot from the game in terms of just paying attention to other people before myself and trying to figure out like, oh, okay, what's this person feeling, or and also just like in the little ways, like with how Max would talk to Kate, or just being more aware of what you choose, even not just choosing to be nice or not nice to somebody, but of course you should always choose to be nice, but thinking about like what you're saying, how that would affect them in the game. If she doesn't say just the right thing to Kate, then Kate, isn't able to be helped. So I feel like it's important to really take into consideration how what you're saying is going to affect the other person. So I'm just more aware of those things now, and not that I'm like doing perfectly at it, because it's like a constant learning experience, but I'm definitely more aware of it, and I feel like that's been just such a positive. It makes me feel better as a person. It makes other people feel better, so it's just positive all around. And then I also learned a lot, just from like a professional standpoint, in terms of how to like handle being in a voiceover session, and how to handle success, how to handle failure that comes after success inevitably, and just navigating all of that in terms of being an actress and being a person. So yeah, definitely learned so many things.
Well, that's cool. It's kind of almost like I don't think it's quite the same, but almost like a coming of age story of your own.
Definitely, I would say that's exactly what it's been like.
And yeah, it's hard. You get like when you're kind of in the throes of woe and the pits of despair, it's hard to like not get sucked up into your own head, and like even if you're not trying to be like selfish or like egocentric or anything like that, it's like it's hard to think about anything else other than like what you yourself are going through. So
Absolutely, it's so hard.
I'm glad it helped. I'm glad it helped you kind of take a step back, and it was able to get you to a better place.
Yeah, but I also want to say, like, when that's happening to you, like for me, it was just, there were times when I couldn't think outside of myself. And I think that you have to be gentle with yourself in terms of that. Definitely try to, but don't beat yourself up if you can't like let go of what's troubling you. That stuff is serious, and it can be really hard.
Yeah. Just be forgiving.
Definitely.
Be excellent to one another.
Yeah.
And be excellent to yourself. Definitely be excellent to yourself.
Here on the Bill and Ted's Excellent Podcast.
Yeah. All right. So we know that you've done some streams at Square Enix where you've played through season 1 a little bit, and you were with Day for an episode. If you were to go back to the times you were there, what changes would you have made to the choices?
If you could rewind time.
Yeah.
Well, I had other people playing with me, so if I'd been playing by myself, I'm sure I would have made a lot more mistakes. But since I had so many other people with me, I can't really remember exactly what we failed at, because we saved Kate when we played, and I think the biggest thing would just be, I would suggest saying one certain thing to people in the game, and Day would suggest saying something else, and she would always be right, and I'd be like, dang, I thought that would be the nicest thing to say, but really it's like, I guess for me, when I hear somebody's going through something, I just want to be like, I'm sorry you're going through that. That sucks. But I think that in the game, maybe the better thing to do is to be like, hey, let me give you encouragement or something. But for me, when I'm down, I don't necessarily want somebody to try to make me feel better. I just want to know somebody's listening.
Yeah,
and
totally.
that I'm heard. So I don't know what I would change. I guess it's hard. There's so many things to choose. It's so hard to know exactly what the right thing is to do at all times. But I feel pretty good about the decisions I made in the game. I know I tried my best. So I guess I would just keep it.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about Life is Strange, is like in a lot of circumstances, like there is no real right and wrong. It's just different paths and, different consequences. But I think your point is still valid, because some people do just want to be heard and they don't want a solution. They just want like to vent and to get their issues out there. So I think both approaches are valid depending upon the type of person you're dealing with.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And it's an interesting delineation too, because with Life is Strange, with it being a narrative and it having an arc that it has to follow, and it being a game that to be completed and all that, it does you do have to kind of propel the story a little bit. So I think that maybe that is like kind of it's an interesting delineation between real life, and even though Life is Strange always felt very real life to me, that's kind of one, I guess, because like in real life there's no arc to complete, there's no story to finish or anything like that. So like day-to-day interactions with people, especially people feeling down, it's like it's kind of different from like, it's not like, hey, I know you're down, buddy, but we got 4 more episodes to make it through, so before the story of life is over.
Black, white. Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
So what has been the most satisfying experience in playing Max, like over all the years?
I think that for me, the most satisfying thing has been getting to experience knowing that I made something, or that I was a part of making something that helped other people to feel that it had an effect on people. There's so much of my career that's really arbitrary and meaningless. and stupid. And you're lucky to even get those jobs. So to be able to have been cast in a part like this in a project that really made a difference to some people is just makes me feel like on the days when I want to walk away, that I could walk away if I wanted to. Like I had always felt my whole life I felt so chained to acting because I needed to feel some kind of fulfillment from all of the hard work and like tears and agony that I put into trying to make this my life. And so being in Life is Strange really gave me some freedom because I felt like I still feel like, well, I did okay. Like, being a part of this game helped me relax a lot about my career, and I feel confident that I was a part of something good, and that something positive came out of all these years of, like leaving home at 16 and everything, like missing out on my brother's childhood, and I just feel like the game really gave me that peace.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It's always, I don't know, it's always like so, I don't really, awesome, I guess, I'll just use that word, to hear, like, not only from the fans and from us and all that, how it's affected us, but also, like, just to hear the positive impact that the game has had on, like, the people involved, and, I don't know, I'm super glad to hear that doing this project was cathartic for you, and that it's just all around awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, there's no words really for how much that freedom means to me that it gave me. So it's just unbelievable. I'm so thankful.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear.
Everything's just really awesome.
Yeah.
Everything was awesome. So shifting gears a little bit, back to the music side of things. Since your album is now out, I think this refers to Hollow Glow, which has been out for some time. But in recording the album, what songs from it would you consider to be your favorites to create, in the writing process or recording?
Oh my gosh. Well, each one was, those songs were written from a place of just, they all mean so much to me. And the recording process for each one of those is so specific. But if I had to, specific and special, so if I had to pick some that really stood out, I'd have to say More Like Her was the last song that I wrote. A lot of those songs had been written like a couple years before we started recording the album. So, but More Like Her came about later. We had already recorded everything else, and we were mixing, and then that song happened. And the recording process for that was, I'll just go ahead and talk about it because it doesn't matter anymore. But that song was about someone that I was really in love with and their girlfriend, and just me feeling like I was never going to measure up, and that I felt like I loved them so much more than it was humanly possible for anybody else to love them. So I just couldn't understand why they didn't get that. But when we recorded that, the girl that song was about was in the other room with the guy, and so it was really intense, and to sing that song and in the room by myself while they're in the next room together, and so I was kind of crying while I was singing it, and it was just really powerful for me to get to say how I felt and to be delivering that performance, I guess, in the most real way ever.
Yeah.
It was like, totally honest and raw, and so that was really rewarding for me. I really got to get those feelings out. So that's probably my favorite. That was probably the hardest and most sad, but it was also my favorite.
Yeah.
It's
It always
super intense.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I think you mentioned that when you were on the open mic last December.
Oh, that's true. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry, Ricky.
But no, I'm glad you brought it up again, because it's so cool that was the last one that you recorded for the album, and it has so much weight and meaning, and even the story behind recording it is great and very relatable. I mean,
Yeah.
can't speak for you guys, but I've definitely been in that place, and if I had to, I'm kind of, I don't know, I can't imagine just being in that situation, like having to lay tracks down when you're already nervous and already like just trying to make it good, and then having the very people it's about in the very next room it's a lot of pressure. But I'm glad that you found some good out of it, and
It definitely helps.
it turned out great.
It made my job easier, and then I guess that would be like the most intense story from the album. Definitely, all of the other situations kind of pale in comparison to that one. So yeah.
All right. Next question is, is there any news you would like to share for possible future music projects you're doing?
Yes. Well, like I said earlier, I'm just focusing on right now I'm writing the songs for the second album, and learning how to work on everything myself. I think that after I made my first album, I was really in my head about my music and I became super dependent on my producer to tell me whether or not something was good. And so I started trying to write some new songs for the second album, but I was just so stuck in my head thinking, is he going to think this is good, or are people going to think it's good? Is it going to be cool, or is people going to think it's lame? And things started coming out in a style that I wasn't expecting. It was sort of more country, and not that there's anything wrong with country, but that wasn't the direction that I imagined myself going in.
Mm-hmm.
The first album has some of that kind of like southern influence, but there's also this other side to it that's a little bit dreamy and psychedelic kind of, and I wanted to go more in that direction. But what I was writing was not that at all, and I started judging myself really harshly and changing everything to try to impress him, and just because I really wanted to, what I was writing to resonate with my peers instead of resonate with me.
Mm-hmm.
And because the people I was trying to get to resonate with are all guys, so I just wanted to be on their level of musicianship and everything, but that wasn't doing anyone any favors. It was just limiting me. So I think that working by myself, I'm only going to be worrying about what I think sounds good or what feels good to me. So I feel like it's going to take a little bit longer, and the sound quality might not be as great, and the guitar solos might not be played as perfectly. I write most of the guitar solos, but I don't play them because I don't feel confident in my abilities, but I'm just going to do it. So may not be as like technically perfect, but I'm going to just give it all I have and make it for myself, and hopefully it'll turn out good. So yeah, that's coming later this year, hopefully. Definitely going to release music this year, whether it's like an EP or an album.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear anything you release, honestly.
Thank you so much.
I know, like me personally, I always appreciate more raw and more like
Yeah.
closer to what the artist is feeling music than
Fancy stuff.
I don't know what the words are. I never know what the words are, but more like not
Something
produced,
that's been right.
but
kind of
something
made
that's
to
not
appeal.
right.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm excited for your new direction and looking forward to your new music.
Thank
Same.
you.
So going back to Life is Strange now. What do you think Max's favorite quality in Chloe is as a best friend? Not only from season 1, but also Farewell.
I think Max just appreciates how Chloe doesn't necessarily filter everything through this overthinking self-analysis process like she does. You know, everything that Max says and does, she overthinks everything, and she's very careful and cautious, and Chloe just doesn't have a filter. And she says and does whatever she wants, and in many ways she's Max's opposite. And she's so freewheeling and reckless and wild, and I think Max feels that there's that side of her deep within, but she doesn't know how to get in touch with it, and she's also a little bit afraid of it, I think. So Chloe offers her kind of like a way into tapping into her inner leader, and I think she really admires that in Chloe, and she finds that to be really refreshing and inspiring too.
Yeah, it's kind of a yin and yang situation.
Yeah, like I've always said, they kind of balance each other out.
Yes.
They bring out really like kind of the best in each other and like help each other in areas that like they both struggle with. Like obviously Max struggles a lot with anxiety and overthinking, whereas Chloe can sometimes be too much and say too much and act irrationally at times. And I feel like they really balance that out, and I feel that's what makes their dynamic so powerful and interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like I was thinking a few days ago about like Max and Chloe's relationship, and I cannot think. I was just thinking of like, you know, what is like the most powerful friendships I've seen in any kind of form of media, and like I can't think of anything that would top Max and Chloe for some reason. But then I realized it's because I don't think there is anything that was portrayed more real, if that makes any sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I just
also
hell yeah.
Nothing like a batch of shared trauma to bring people together.
Oh yeah, true.
That also helps. Alrighty, so a final question from us, and then we'll move on to fan questions. Is what would you like to say to the fans of Life is Strange who has played through Max's story from season 1 to the farewell episode?
Just thank you for caring, and I think it's really cool that people care about these characters and about this game. I think that especially nowadays, it can be seen as kind of uncool to be super passionate about things, and I think that's not true. I think that it's so cool to have strong feelings about what moves you, and I'm so appreciative that people want to play the game, that people relate to the game, and that people like Max, and I'm super thankful that people didn't give up on Max because she didn't handle the move as well as she could have in terms of keeping in touch with Chloe, and I'm just thankful that people care. It's just really overwhelmingly an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
So thank you guys.
I think that's a good point to bring up. Like when you said that it may not be cool to be passionate about things, and especially in the sense of a video game, like anytime I mention Life is Strange to people, and especially, talking about Blackwell Podcast, it's like, you be a little careful about, like, saying too much about it, because I think there are just preconceived notions about that kind of thing, and they're like, oh, well, you play video games, you stay inside all day, like, what are you really doing? But, like, there's something very, very special about this game, and I think that anybody who plays it just sort of, more often than not, yeah, they get it, and I've had people who don't really get it, but they understand, like, oh, well, this is something different. This isn't just like you playing Call of Duty at night. Like, they get that it's something meaningful, and so I think it's cool of you to say that, and I think it encourages the people who are passionate about the game, and we're just really glad that you're on the same page and that you feel it just as much as we do.
I definitely do. I think passion is endlessly cool.
Bring Karen back 2018.
Are we moving on to the questions from fans now?
Yep.
We are.
Is it my question first?
It is.
Okay.
I think it's Aaron's, right?
No, I'm gonna let Sean take this one.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, is it Aaron's? I don't know.
I'm confusion.
I don't know anything.
I'll just go for the first one. So we have a question from Mirko.
Mirko?
Mirko.
Is that Mirko or Micro?
It was Mirko.
Mirko.
Sorry that I butchered your name. And they said, how did it feel to record with Ashley again and be back in the Life is Strange atmosphere?
It felt awesome. It felt really, it made it real. I think if I had come back and we had everything to be separate, where I just recorded all my lines by myself and she recorded all her lines by herself, it would have felt really disjointed and sort of false or something. Like we were just coming back to make some sort of like cheap bookend. But getting to see her and making that behind the scenes video with her, it just really cemented how we were in this together and how we had come a long way since we made the first game in terms of just time passing and becoming more of our adult selves. And so it's always really powerful for me to be around her and to get to share this experience with her. Makes it more real and meaningful to me. So definitely working with her in the booth made all the difference.
That's cool. I'm glad that because I know you guys recorded stuff from season 1 together, so I'm glad that you were able to record in the booth together again with Farewell.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's awesome. I
Yeah,
think
we definitely didn't get to record together this time as much as I think we would have hoped, just because the episode was shorter and we only worked for a few days on the game, but it was still really good to get to make that video and to spend time together again in this world.
Yeah.
It's a nice I guess closing the book on Chloe and Max.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I especially liked the writing of certain scenes, like when they're in the backyard and they're throwing the ball against the board and just calling each other names. And I don't know, it felt very familiar, and I hope that it felt that way for you and Ashley too, just kind of revisiting that friendship.
That's really good.
So this one's from Uneasy Hearts. It's a little more personal, so if you feel at liberty to share, what is your favorite childhood memory?
I think that my favorite childhood memory was just my family kind of had a lot of sad things happen when I was growing up. A lot of people passed away, so our family was in the hospital a lot and then at funeral homes a lot. So people were always in mourning. Someone was always sick or dying, or someone was in mourning from someone dying. There was just a lot of, I guess, trauma in that way. So my family would go to Surfside Beach in South Carolina, and my mom and me and my cousin and my aunt, we would all go together and we would just leave town during school. We would just skip school. So bad. But we would just run away from our hometown and just go to the beach and just stay. It would be cold outside. We would go in the winter, but we would just escape kind of like in early March and miss school and just hang out on the freezing cold beach. But it was just really special to me. And then also I went on a lot of nature walks with my daddy growing up. So that was something that my family's not super outdoorsy, but I love going on. I love nature and being outside, and my dad would always take me on walks into the woods. So those are my favorite memories, the beach and the woods.
Both really cool places. I love the woods.
Yes.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, the woods are cool.
I'm always up for a good trek through the woods.
Have you guys tried orienteering? Because that is fun.
Tried who?
Orienteering.
So cute.
Have you not? Do you not know what orienteering is?
I know
have
what
no
it is,
idea.
but I'm not good at it because I can't use the compass.
Oh, is it just like getting lost and then trying to find?
It's basically you're in like a closed area of the woods, and there's these poles with hole punches, and you have to follow a map to find
Oh,
those.
I have done that.
Yeah, it's really fun. But
Yeah, we did like land nav and stuff a lot in the Army, so I've done my fair share in that. I haven't done it civilianly, which is a word now.
Recreationally.
I did it whenever
That's the word.
I was in I did it whenever I was in elementary school with this kid Ethan, and we got a little bit lost. And when the siren went off, that it was time to go back, we somehow found 4 of them on the way back. So we're just like, no one will know. So we just did it. Just live dangerously, I guess.
Live life on the edge.
Yeah.
You're just hole punching away.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun. I've never done that, but I'd like to.
Yeah.
I think I did it as a kid in school as well. Maybe that's just a thing we do in the UK. Who knows?
UK cool school. UK school is cool.
Hashtag.
All right, I guess it's my turn now.
Yeah.
Next question comes from Sarah, and they ask, would you have liked to see Max and Chloe's story continue, and what would you see them doing should you have chosen to save Chloe at the end of season 1?
I would definitely love to see their story continue. I don't know if it's gonna I don't think it's gonna happen, but I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say I don't know if it's gonna happen. I don't want to put any negative statements out there, but I think it would be really cool if it did. I think there's a lot of people that would like to see it go on, and that doesn't mean they can't do whatever they're gonna do with Life is Strange 2, but I think that it'd be cool to have it after the storm, and they had before the storm, might as well have after the storm. And I think I've said it on before, but I really want him to move to Seattle and stay with Max's family for a little bit, and go to school in Seattle and start a band. There's so many. There's so many more things that can be discovered, and interesting things could happen in Seattle, and they could get involved with some new thing and go on adventures there, and maybe like solve some kind of mystery there too. There could be like some seedy stuff going on in the underground music scene of Seattle, and they're gonna figure it out. So,
I love
Max and
that.
Chloe, music detectives.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'd play
I-
it, just saying. I'd throw a
Chloe
lot of
could-
money at that.
that'd be awesome. And Chloe could like use her back talk thing, and you could like switch between playing as both of them.
It could be like a good cop, bad cop kind of scenario.
Yes, exactly.
I'm so into it.
If
That's such a good idea.
That sounds like really compelling, actually. I would love to play that.
If we're getting Detective Pikachu, then
That would be
If-
good
let's
cop,
see why we
bad
can't
cop.
get Detective Max and Chloe.
if there was like, it would be hilarious if like puns on music were incorporated of that. Looks, oh no,
Yeah.
looks like we're in trouble.
We're in trouble.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
project
So
cancels.
good.
Sorry.
Yeah, but that good cop, bad cop thing that would be so rad. They could really do a lot with that. I don't know, we'll see. Probably not, but it'd be
We
so
just have to
cool.
pitch it together.
You never know.
Yeah.
I always picture a road trip. That's what I always imagine them doing. Like right after the events of season 1.
Now
And then they
that
don't have any money on the road trip, so they have to start busking, which is like playing music for money on the side of the street.
Yeah.
now that Final Fantasy 15 is on PC, you can mod in.
Basically.
So our next question is from Valerie, and she asks, "What was your favorite thing about voicing Max?"
My favorite thing about voicing Max was just getting to play a character that goes from being so introverted to being such a strong, powerful, take no prisoners kind of person. It's just really cool to get to evolve with her and to be on that journey with her. I felt like it changed me in so many positive ways.
Felt like I don't know, she became part of you. You became part of her.
Yeah.
That's cool. I think it's well, I don't know. I don't know if I can speak. You know what? I've acted with authority to speak for other people. And I'll continue to do so. But I think that's kind of like the dream of like being a voice actor, being an actor in general, is just like making a character yours, and then like a little bit of the character becoming part of who you are, and for significant characters anyway. If you're playing like henchman number 2, I mean, hey, if that resonates with you,
my
then-
life.
Yeah, you never know.
But no, I think that's a good point, Joey, because it's like a lot of the time, well, I don't know anything about acting or voice acting, but I feel like you're trying to adapt to the character they've already created. And this felt much more symbiotic from what you've said, Hannah.
It felt that way to me too.
Do it be my question now?
It's me,
No.
but I was trying to think of something to add, but I was drawing a blank, so I was just staring into the question sheet, just like, what do I do? What do I do? Anyway, so our next question is from Morgan, and they like to know, Hannah, what has it been like being the voice of a character that has such a profound impact on a huge community of people? Do you feel a responsibility for keeping the spirit of Max alive?
No
I
pressure.
do.
Yeah, that's a big
I definitely do. I've thought about this a lot. It feels crazy. It never fully sinks in. Sometimes I feel like, oh gosh, I'm gonna wake up and it's gonna all be gone, but if that's not gonna happen, and that's just such a happy feeling. I think I sort of mentioned it earlier, but things in acting are just so fleeting. And it feels like this is a game that's really lasting, and that it's not going to just be forgotten really quickly. I think more people will play it as time goes on, and then once they do the second season, more people will play the first season and the play Before the Storm, and so it makes me feel really excited and just really honored to get to be the person who is her. It's just crazy. It's so crazy. It's so awesome. It never gets old, and I do feel a lot of pressure because I want to do right by her, you know, and I think that that's exciting and challenging. Obviously, some people might look at me like, oh, she's Max, so obviously I wouldn't want to do something bad or waste my life in a way where people would say, gosh, look what Max ended up doing. I don't know, it's just, but that's a pressure that I'd like to have. I think that's a positive pressure. So.
Where is Max Caulfield now?
She's in a ditch. Just kidding, that's horrible. That's
just an article on TMZ or something.
No, that would happen, but that would not happen. But it's just, I like having that pressure. That causes me to have to rise up to the occasion and like be a better person.
Yeah. And the wonderful thing about video games is that there's always new people looking to find new stories where people keep recommending games to each other. So there's always that market where people will just find Life is Strange that way, which means more people will discover Max, which means more people will hopefully ever just love your performance that you brought to Max's character.
Hope so. Yeah.
And then hopefully people keep listening to Blackwell Podcast.
Well, you guys aren't going anywhere. You guys span all the seasons.
We're eternal.
Yeah.
I should ask you guys that question because you guys are in it for the long haul.
Anyway. I've talked to Joey about like being in the long haul, and you know that when we found out that there won't be any more Arcadia Bay, we were considering for a little bit to change the name of the podcast for a little bit, but we want to stick to the roots.
That's what people know us by.
Yeah. I think it's totally cool to stick with that, even if a sequel would have nothing to do with Blackwell.
I feel people will get it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I hope.
You wouldn't want to change the name because then you would lose all the momentum that you've got with this name, and it's the same. It's still the same game.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, I feel like it might work in our favor because it would like remind people of the first game and have that sentimentality to it.
Every time we do an episode for Life is Strange Season 2, we always remind them to go play the first season.
Yeah.
Just to poke them a little bit.
This is your weekly reminder.
Please do it.
Is it me now?
Yes.
No.
I wish I could count.
Well, I executively decided that Sean's before me now. So.
Okay.
All right. I'll respect that.
We're on question 16, right?
We're on
Yeah, this derailed in a big way, huh?
18.
I'm just.
We're on
18 now.
Question.
Oh my god. Okay. So, Dominic says, do you think voice acting or voiceover work is something you'll gravitate to more after Life is Strange?
I think so, definitely. I had never really, I had never really done just a strictly voiceover job before this, so getting to see like what this is like and also seeing like what it's like for Ashley, definitely I'm intrigued and I want to keep doing this for sure. I hope I'll book something soon.
I hope you get more work. Because you were in Murdered Soul Suspect.
Soul Suspect.
Yeah, I was in that, but I mostly for that did performance capture, which I'd really like to do more of that too. Like maybe even I'd rather do that more than just voiceover. That's like where you wear all the sensors and you do your voice, your face, and your body movements, everything. So I really like that because I'm a super physical person, especially as an actor. I'm crazy physical, so I would like to be able to incorporate that aspect of myself into the performance as well.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, if there are any future game devs, any current game devs listening to the show, hire Hannah Telle.
Listen up.
Spread the word.
Cool. Well, this next one is actually one that I'm curious about as well. It comes from Wilhelm, and they say, could you tell us something about what went into writing your song Skin Knees?
Oh wow. Okay, so for those people who don't know this song, I guess I should give a little like what the song is like. It's sort of it's like a ballad, a revenge ballad, and so I was dating someone for 7 years, and we lived together in a house with all of our friends, and I thought like this was the person I was going to be with, and but also I had some reservations, but not enough to really leave. But things ended up getting worse, and I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't figure out what it was. And but the person that I was with just assured me over and over that that there was nothing wrong. And it turned out that he had cheated on me with our housemate, and so I was like living with the girl, and she and I didn't get along, and it was like a big source of pain for me because I really wanted this girl to like me. I wanted us to be friends, but I could not get her to like me. I was just like the most annoying person to her. And that in turn made me feel super judged, which makes me feel super paranoid. And I was like living in this house with these horrible vibes. And when I finally found out like the truth, I'd spent my whole 20s with this person, and there's just so much wasted time. And I was really upset, and I never in a million years thought that he would have done that. And it just like killed me. I was so shocked. And so a lot of it was really funny because I started writing that song before I even knew what had happened. I guess I just felt like there was something like a rift between us, but I couldn't figure out what it was. And yeah, it was really creepy because the song started before I knew, and then it was finished after I knew the truth. But I think a lot of the pain from that situation went into that first album, definitely. But that Skin Knees is like the anthem for that relationship.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry
That's
you had to go
okay.
through that.
It's totally fine. I mean, that's just a testament to how time heals everything. How beneficial it can be to put your hurt feelings into art. Because I think making that album helped me work through all of the pain that I had from that situation, and now I feel a lot of peace. And I'm not even upset at those people anymore. I can understand that they were just like everybody's just doing what makes sense to them at the time, and so yeah, art is really powerful.
Yeah, that's really big of you to say.
Yeah.
I think it's also cool because Hollow Glow is I think the general theme of it is working through those feelings, and it explores a lot of issues of feeling inadequate or feeling like there's more that you can do, and that song sticks out to me because that's like standing up for yourself, you know. That's
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's in a darker tone, you know, it's like saying like you're like calling somebody else out on their
Yes.
mistakes.
That was my one song where I was like, listen up. It was you and you that did me wrong. I'm gonna tell you why. So
I mean,
it felt really
I
good.
honestly, I don't think I could write a song like that. It's just so like upfront and honest.
I sometimes I used to. There's this girl who I'm like sort of not writing another more like her, but I think about her in that way a lot, and she writes music that's really abstract and vague and everything, like very overly poetic lyrics, and not that they're beautiful, but I just don't really write that way, and but I think that being upfront and honest is sometimes really embarrassing for people to do, but I also think it's really fun. Because there's nowhere to hide. You're just straight up saying, well, you're just laying it all out. So I think it's cool to just tell people what's up.
It is, and well, a friend of mine, well, actually, Hannah, you introduced me to him. Josh, I like that in a lot of his songs. He mentions the people's name that he's talking about.
Oh
So
my
there's
gosh, that's like on another level.
That takes a lot of confidence to do.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Wow.
Fucking call out post of a song.
So I'm hoping for a diss track on album 2.
A diss
Yeah.
track. Oh, you're gonna get some. Yes. I think this album might be a little bit more angry. Not angry, but just it's not gonna be so sad. It's still gonna be pretty sad, but it's gonna be.
Let's not lie to ourselves.
There's a little bit more like strength in the sadness, I think. There's a lot of songs on Hollow Glow where I was just like hopelessly sad. But I don't feel like hopeless like that anymore, so I think they're a little different.
It's good.
It'll be neat to compare them. Not know like, oh, the sophomore album is always worse or it was better, or like that sort of way. But compare them like listening to the lyrics and stuff, like where you were and like where you are in this album. And
Thank you. It's cool that you would even care. Thank you so much. Truly though, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So our next question is from Kylie, and they ask, in what ways, if any, do you feel the farewell episode added to our understanding of Max and her character?
I think that it just showed their friendship and how pure and essentially perfect that it was, and how hard it was for her to have to end that, even though these circumstances were totally out of her control.
Mm-hmm.
She's just a kid. She can't help that she has to move, and I think that it was important for people to get to see how much she loves Chloe, and how much she especially how much she loved her then, so that they could understand a little bit why their friendship mattered so much to both of them. If they hadn't really seen each other or kept in touch, I think it was important to see the beginning phase and to understand how close they were and how much it mattered to both of them. And also, I think that getting to see how hard it was for Max to tell her hopefully helps people to get that Max was just doing the best she could too. And
Right.
things are complicated, especially at that age. I think I talked about it before, but when I was that age, there was a friend of mine that I loved so much, but I left and didn't even tell her I left home and didn't even tell her I was leaving. And it had nothing to even do with her. It was just that I was so tormented in my own self and wrapped up in my own drama that I didn't want anybody to know what I was doing. I felt so alone. So I just took off. And I know that really hurt her. But I guess I understand like where Max is coming from at that age. Things are just so tumultuous in your head. And I think it's important for people to see both sides of the story and like not necessarily blame anyone, but just blame the circumstance, not the person.
Right. And I don't know. I think it came Farewell released at a good time. And I think it did well to release as a bonus episode outside of Before the Storm, just to not to put things in perspective, to not vilify Max for not keeping in touch and stuff. It's like, could she have done better? Yes, but also she was 13. Her best friend's dad just died on the same day that they're leaving. Like, she tells her best friend she's leaving. Like, they bury her dad on the same day that she leaves. Like, that there's so much to that. There's so much. It's like, it's hard. It's honestly quite difficult to even wrap your head around.
Say?
Yeah, how do you and then if you do want to contact them again, what do you even say? What
do you say? I also think that Max doesn't have a lot of, well, I know that she doesn't have a lot of confidence, and I know that when I leave, and I've tried to change this in myself because I don't think it's the right way to be, but whenever I'm away from someone that I care about, in the past, I would, back when I didn't have any confidence at all, I would never reach out, because I would just assume that if they weren't reaching out to me, that they didn't want to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it takes a certain amount of self-possession and confidence and strength to say, oh, well, just because they're not reaching out to me doesn't mean that they don't want to talk to me. I should reach out to them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know? So that I don't think that Max was mature enough to get that, and obviously I don't think Chloe was either, because no one reached out. Well, no, I think Chloe did reach out.
She tried a little bit, yeah.
Tried, yeah. But I don't know. I don't know why she did. I don't know. It's crazy. I wish she would have said something and made more of an effort, but
I always
I
felt
guess
like it was just
never
guilt. Because I've been in a place where my best friend from high school, we don't chat as much as we used to, just because we went on different paths of life, and it's I don't know, it's sort of you feel the weight of all the time that you haven't spent together and the time that you haven't talked to each other. So even if they're just checking in on you, it's oh man, I feel like I should say something really awesome, or something that will make them remember that we're best friends. But it's so much pressure and you can't think of anything, and I feel bad because sometimes I take forever to respond. So I don't know. That was my take on it, and that's what I felt like Max was going through.
Yeah, it's hard to avoid. It's hard to understand.
I feel like maybe, we don't know this for certain as well. Especially, what I kind of presume, they didn't really have Facebook or anything like that, and we didn't know of them looking at all the stuff they're doing with their friends. That's why Max didn't recognize Chloe. So I imagine it was really difficult for them, more so than it would be now if you were to go through that, because they just had no idea. They were just missing everything in each other's lives. So it's probably really difficult to imagine what they were doing without them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that's probably why Max was not jealous of Rachel, but she was kind of that could have been me.
Yeah.
And I feel like she missed out a lot on Chloe's life, and I feel like she's so. I feel like she pushes herself too hard. Honestly, that's just kind of what I get. But she just really beats herself up for it. Obviously, it was really difficult for her and for Chloe,
Mm-hmm.
but she really beats herself up for it. And I don't know. I just want to give her a big old hug.
Yeah.
And all of that, every single one of those emotions, the guilt, the God, I know I should have done better, all that exacerbates the problem so much too, because it just compounds and until you have what you have, where there's just this rift. And I'm glad that even though the events of season 1 are, good God, that's a lot. But it gives them the opportunity to, to reconnect. And, but yeah, it is like a very, and yeah, I mean, it took place in 2013, but also they were, or not 2013, what was it, 2008, I think is.
I think so.
So, like, that was there, but not, like, nearly as, like, ever present as it is now. And plus, two, take into account, like, Chloe's family was struggling financially and all that, so they're not going to have, like, like, smartphones and all that allow to regularly connect and all that. So, it's a lot. There's a lot in it. And, I don't know where I was going with that, but it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. Definitely is.
All right, so our next question is from Sarah, and she asks, do you think the tape from the ending of Farewell episode is recorded by Adult Max?
I think that this theory is so cool. I didn't think about that at the time when we were recording it, but once I started hearing these theories, I was like, whoa, that's really cool. I don't. I mean, I think it's possible. It could be her, but I kind of want to believe that it's young Max, because that, if it's older Max, it would sort of seem like she's going back to do that to save face or something. Or I know she's probably not doing it for that reason. She's probably doing it to help Chloe to feel better, but I think that I want to believe that younger Max did that and like made that effort to tell her how she feels, and so I'm hoping that that's what it is, but I really don't know.
I think it's an interesting theory. I actually hadn't even heard that, but also I just played Farewell today, so I've been keeping away from the theories and stuff, but yeah, it was interesting.
This question is from Dan, and they like to know which scene in both games were the most fun to record for. Also, do you have a particular line that you love?
Well, okay, let me see. I would say, okay, in the first game, like the original game, my favorite line was definitely "Release the Kraken," and my favorite scene to record, or the most fun scene to record, we had a lot of fun recording the pool scene. It was just the two of us in the booth, and we were having like a really good back and forth, and that was just like a totally lighthearted moment, in the sense that they were breaking the rules and they were having fun, and there wasn't so much like guilt on Max at this point, and they'd kind of like gotten past that a little bit, and they were just hanging out as friends, having fun, and that was really, there was like the most carefree point in the game, kind of, I thought. Or one of the more carefree points in the game. And then in the Farewell episode, I think the most fun scene to record there was just the pirate stuff. We weren't expecting that at all, and that was such a nice break from all the heartache.
I don't know if you can discuss it, but like chronologically, how did you record the lines? They
were kind of in order.
Were they?
Yeah, they were. They were more so in order than in other episodes, for sure, because it was shorter. So we mostly just started at the beginning and worked our way through the episode.
And I think so too, with the exception of like William's lines, it was just you and and the voice, like the "I'm not sending my kid to this school anymore until you do something about your daughter."
That was Ashley.
Like,
that was Ashley.
Oh, well, but okay, well, even
it was just us three, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just pretty much just Max and Chloe. like in the whole episode. So
Yeah. That was cool. It was just the three.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's how it should have been, even though it was short, just centered on Max and Chloe and you two doing your lines and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
all right,
Next question. Sean?
Was it Sean?
is she here?
Wait, is it my question?
Yeah.
Manny's 22.
I wish I could read. What up? I'm Jared. I'm 19 and never fucking learned how to read. So Manny says, if you had to compare your current self to the person you were before taking the role of Max, what comes to your mind as the biggest changes you've seen in yourself? How have your experience the past 3 years changed you?
Wow. Oh my goodness. I'm a much. Gosh, I'm a much different person, I think. I'm essentially the same, but I've grown a whole lot. I feel endlessly more comfortable with who I am, and knowing that that's enough. I don't feel as nervous all the time, especially with acting. I feel like I'm a much more confident and capable person, and I understand that sometimes when you're nervous, it makes other people nervous, and they feel like they have to take care of you, and that's not helpful to anyone. And I think that I had a problem with feeling like I needed to play small or just like make myself seem, I don't know, I think when I was younger, I was really afraid of my voice and afraid of being who I am, and worrying that wasn't enough. And I started telling myself these stories that I wasn't good enough, and that I was a super nervous person, and that I wasn't any good. And I really started believing that, and it became my truth. And I realize now that that's not my truth, and that everyone is good enough just as they are. And I think that the game, at the beginning of the game, I was just so caught up in that self-deprecating storm, and I think that now I'm a lot more at peace. I think that the game had some part to play in that for sure, but the biggest thing for me was just believing in God and like understanding that in His eyes I'm more than enough no matter what I do. Like even if I just quit everything now and I'm a total loser for the rest of my life, I'm still gonna be like loved unconditionally by this person that's bigger than myself. So I think like starting to understand what that fully meant and changed me a lot, and then the game also helped so much with that. And I've just changed in so many ways that I'm not like a depressed person anymore. I'm not ruled by anxiety and depression anymore. I think like that has to do with the fact that I finally am getting treated for being bipolar, and like with the right medication. And I think like medication coupled with going to church and like experiencing some level of success in my career in finding music, is all of those things together have changed me in such a powerful, big way. So I feel like it's night and day. The person I was then, I was like so caught up with what other people thought, and if making people like me, and I feel a lot more at peace about those things now. I still worry about that. I think that it's impossible kind of not to, but it doesn't rule me, you know. So
Totally.
that's nice.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad you're in a better place.
Yeah, it's
Thank
really good
you.
to hear.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think you said it earlier. It's a lifelong process. You know, it's always growing and always changing. But I think people ask these kind of questions because they care and hope the best for you. So I think we're all glad to hear that you've been feeling that peace in yourself.
Yes. I'm really glad to be feeling it. It's really cool. I feel like I'm happy for the first time in my whole life, so it's really awesome.
That's awesome.
That's really great.
Cool. Well, Luke would like to know, what kind of music does Max and Chloe's band play? Do they do a lot of covers or more their own material?
I would say they do their own material. They have so much from which to draw. They've been through so much. I think that they would start the band like from a place of needing to get some relief and release like their pain through their music. So I think they would play originals, and I think Chloe would maybe be a little bit more on like the heavier side of indie rock, and Max would be on the softer side. And they would kind of balance each other out musically as well.
So you think they'd do like indie, kind of the indie rock sound?
Yeah.
I feel like they created entirely different genre. Like, I used to have this friend who played in a band who he described as folk punk, and it was like punk music with like acoustic guitars and like indie arrangements. I feel like it'd be something like that.
Yeah.
It's weird how like indie is a genre, even though it's a very like broad genre, and there's like all sorts of subgenres. When like it used to just be described like self-published and like our independent records like published it and all that. Now it's like, I guess like we have bands like Radiohead and stuff like that to thank, or if you don't want to thank them, you don't have to, but be held responsible if you don't want to thank them for kind of making that like a genre, I guess.
Right. Well, it's like pop,
Built
right?
to Spill and Spoon. Yeah.
Oh, I love Built to Spill. Yeah, like, pop is like, it's whatever's popular, but people often associate a certain type of music with that. It's just kind of like meshes together.
Yeah.
And then it kind of develops its own sound. I don't know. That's weird. The like, not etymology, but I guess just the evolution of music and genres and stuff like that is always interesting. But that's not why we're here today.
Yeah.
So I digress.
We always digress.
That's what we
Start
do.
a music podcast.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
That'd be cool, a music podcast.
I'd love it.
All right, so I think
we got one final question.
Yeah. Last question. A big one. Jane wants to know, what are you going to miss about playing Max?
I think, well, I'm gonna miss, everything. Gosh, I think I'll miss most just like getting to do all of her little inner monologue things, where she's making observations on everything, and sometimes they're super witty, and sometimes they're critical, and sometimes they're like nostalgic and sad. I think that that's probably my favorite part of being Max, just making those little comments and observations in her head. And I think that I'll miss that a lot, and then I'll also miss, it'll be sad when the new season comes out and it's like something totally different, and it'll probably like make me feel a bit bittersweet. So I guess I'm gonna miss just living in this moment where right now it's the most relevant part of the game, So it's gonna be tough, but I'm thankful that it happened, and I'm glad I'm just so glad that I got to be a part of it at all.
So this isn't one we asked, and it's off the cuff a little bit, but so what is Life is Strange to you?
To me, I think Life is Strange is noticing the profound effect that your decisions have. I'm sure that it's so many other things to other people, but when I think about the game, that's the aspect of the game that is most meaningful to me and that resonates the most with me, and I think that has the most lasting effect on me.
Yeah, just kind of, I don't know. It gives you like a more meta experience of like more meta perspective of seeing the way your own actions affect other people and the way other people's actions affect your own and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good answer. Not that there was a wrong or bad answer, but that's a good one.
Yeah, everyone has their own idea of what Life is Strange is to them. So
yeah, and being a good friend.
I'm always intrigued just to listen about what people think Life is Strange is. In their mind, and I love it so much. Just whenever I hear it, so hearing it from you really, what I lost the word I was gonna say. It was good. So yeah.
Well, thank you everybody that submitted questions. There were some really good ones in there.
Definitely great questions.
I guess I shouldn't say there's some really good ones in there because they were all good, and I don't want people fighting over who I mean. So they were all good questions. Is what I mean.
It's like Family Feud. Good questions. Good questions.
Well, cool, Hannah. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is really fun. It's always really fun.
It is. It is for us. I'm glad it is for you as well. I hope this won't be our last time with you on the show, or you joining us for an event or something. But
you're welcome back
anytime, you guys.
We'll interview you when you release your new album.
Oh wow! Thank you.
What an honor.
That is an honor. Are you kidding? I hope it happens soon.
So everybody, thank you again. It's good to be back in the I would say studio, but it's good to be back in the Skype call.
Yeah.
We're back. The Dinosaur's Tale.
I love that movie.
It's a good
Anyways.
movie. So we've got, which everyone knows about from our Twitter, we've got the interview with Ashley next week, and then we'll be getting back on our regularly scheduled programming, which is
every 2 weeks.
Sort of regularly scheduled.
Yeah.
Hannah, again, always a pleasure to have you, and a big thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you to everybody who asked questions. Thanks so much.
And we look forward to your future ventures and your album, and whatever else the future might have in store for you that you share with us.
I'm sure we'll all be celebrating whatever you do together.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome.
So yeah. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.
All right.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.